able to zoom there. Zoom in. So, hello everybody. Kind of have two topics, and they're both, I feel, important. Again, being precise and methodical. I wasn't sure, but as far as like the pride topic, one thing I'll say is that I don't think that it's any secret that whether you have TV or radio, or just simply on social media, or just simply hearing, or just simply walking into it, like I mean, I think that well, I guess it depends where you live, but at the same time, I think that it might be the same date anywhere. And I think it's no secret that that it's happening. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I also wanted to talk about the whole fact of, even though, so just briefly there for a moment, even though this is being posted on the internet, um, you know, regardless of whether it's something said on your own video or something that is said on um, someone else's, um, I think I really feel like we should be um, trying our best to be respectful of. I mean, I don't want to call people disrespectful necessarily for doing this, but trying our best to be respectful of the fact that whether they are thinking about it much or not, people put what they want where they want it. And as much as, yes, this is the internet, they maybe don't feel a need for it to be anywhere else, and it doesn't really need to be. I mean, there's also the thing about, I guess, about kind of helping promote each other, in a positive manner. Of course, that's not bad. Um, everybody's different. I myself mostly could keep up with that. Mostly could keep up with, a fair amount of engagement. But some people couldn't, and it would just be very overwhelming. It might be anyway. And so, yeah, just kind of reminding that, you know, just because somebody, posts about something doesn't mean, you know, especially with the ancient, you know, and all the things that they're doing these days. But ask yourself, are you doing it just to do it, or is there really a point? Is there really a point? And also, what do you want it done to you, and does it put somebody in a positive light or not? I'm thinking about a certain thing, and I really do think it was more out of being funny, being creative, taking a favorite moment. Oh, I almost, that's the other thing, and I know he's in there right now, but that's the other thing. That's the other thing. I usually, after the routine, the part of my routine that I've already done, it's a little bit lagging, but I usually have a coffee. It is warm out, but it's only going to be warmer tomorrow. But so I, even though I was kind of, thoughtful, I almost forgot to make my coffee. Sorry. um, that may be. Oh, it's awfully dark in here. It isn't, but on the screen there, for some weird reason, it was. I don't know what's up with that. I'm going to put the light on while I'm in here. Um, so hopefully it's some will be out of the way shortly. Yeah. And yeah, I'll figure out. There's one I can already okay. Crinkle, crinkle, sorry. Crinkle, crinkle, sorry. There we go. You want into the refrigerator? Almost done. I just gotta make myself more Gatorade. Oh, you are, eh? Yeah. Okay. Because this is kind of some more serious topics, and so I don't want you to be distracted by visuals or certain things that. Visuals should be dangerous. Luckily my coffee, all it has to have happen to it is be heated up, so that makes it easier from earlier. But I don't remember if I put and if I did, that's the thing. I told her, but we didn't say much about it. That's the thing, kind of like putting the morning one in with the evening one and mixing those up. But I'm home for the night now. So, but and again, if you miss, if there's any gaps, which maybe there might be briefly in this, is that the chart of life? Then I think I can move that back, but yeah. Then just skip ahead. That's the morning one. I honestly don't know if there's all that much difference between the two, but it doesn't look like I drank that much coffee this morning. I thought I'd had more. I don't know what that was about, but you can always skip ahead. But as far as that first topic, which I guess was listed second, there's not a whole lot else. Sorry, I'm moving around so much, but there's not a whole lot else that necessarily could be said. And if you're into the techie stuff, do it with other things. Not necessarily people's contents. I mean, although I guess it was within his own content, and I don't know. I didn't think it was that amusing, but then again, I'm used to it. In fact, that being said, I do think I just need to quickly do something. One of us is a little bit better about it, but only available on weekends to help. And I thought I figured it out the other day when I tried it myself, but the editing feature is finicky, and I'm still not sure how to do it. So there will be gaps. There will be moments where, there will be. I might actually be able to say the other bit quick, although I wouldn't mind getting my coffee in the microwave, and then I'll do that, and then we'll wrap it up probably. This one for the vine, whoever had on your hand. I don't really want to have with this. I feel like I want to have something with it. No, a lot of the cup is full, but the rest of it is no, it's not that high. I'm a little bit. I think you just need to focus on doing this because I don't intend for it to be very long, and then I can do the other stuff. But sometimes I don't, But I don't know. We don't have to podcast necessarily our whole day or every thought or, hours and hours. Although I'm coming across people on here that do like to do that, but if they want to, that's fine, and I do it too sometimes, If I have the time and I'm enjoying myself, then I think that's kind of the main thing. I don't know what I want to have with my coffee other than dinner today. I mean, technically, I didn't eat very much. The food I thought were okay, and it's nice that they were, good, the ones that ran it, but there really wasn't much in the way of food there. So, okay, now I'm going to settle down and kind of notice for a moment. And the other thing I was going to do, though, sorry, is point the AC a bit more this direction. I purposely didn't do that because I get chilly sometimes, which is something that maybe the other person didn't know that, a certain someone didn't know. I'm just going to feed the dog while I'm out. Sorry about this, buddy. Hopefully that'll distract him a little bit. But is that, I do have anemia. I do have, some health conditions, which is why, I am the way I am. So, but I'm also a podcaster. So it's a little, and at least it's not a live performance. But maybe that's what they do during costume change or whatever when they have like a in between act or whatever. To break to do whatever you need to do in it, right? But so I happen to find myself tomorrow might just be too hot, too potentially too smoky, and I don't know. It was a nice time. Dropped almost $40 just on the food trucks and that. But we did happen to find ourselves at right. If we get a viewer, welcome. And you know, it really is for anybody. You know, the festival and being there. I just hope that people, you know, they're going there for positive reasons. I thought, oh, should I wait till after it's done? But as far as and I mean, if it's not all at the same time, because it might have a significant date actually. If it's not on the same date in all places, then it's probably pretty close to around the same time. I didn't remember it being end of May. I thought it was into June, and maybe it does vary a little bit every year. But and I think we can't be the only place that's having Pride Festival now. But at least I did a bit of that song. I also heard another song. But apparently, the other person that I was with was visiting. Didn't I? Band-Aid fell off again. I thought it was sticking my out and Steven in the bath, but it did end up falling off. So who knows where it is? But hopefully I'll see it before the dog does. But while I was elsewhere, apparently one familiar person and one not familiar person were talking to the person I was with, and I guess, and otherwise would have maybe been kind of having other distractions anyway, not processing, almost like didn't the one that broached. An old Dixie Chick song, which is kind of ironic. And it was also kind of ironic, something particular type that I seem to be noticing more than any other years when I've been, which is not every year as well. It's not every year and it's not often, but you know what? It wasn't super hot, but but you did see a lot of shirts. And what it did, like I said, was not necessarily identifying. But it's there was a nice breeze, and it was a chance to get out of the house for a little bit because we weren't doing anything else, and get some food as well. And we do support in our home. We do support the community, and I know it's potentially still a topic that is hot button, or that is whatever. As far as religion being involved, I mean, I do believe God is love and God has made diversity, and nobody has to be. We can find how we're alike. We can appreciate how we're different, but nobody has to be like and so there will always be that. But just because somebody else wouldn't doesn't see themselves that way, doesn't mean that other people don't have to or shouldn't either. It's actually a pretty good way to put it, I think, which I don't feel like I hear very often in general, around this topic. But I know that, I probably hear similar, and I know that other people probably feel the same. But what I did hear, aside from pre-recorded music, well, there was also live band, but, there was two different stages, which I also didn't remember. And the one, there wasn't that much distance between the two. And there was some variance, and we weren't around it very long. But, some people don't like things super loud. And it was. And also, sound carries, and it could have affected what was going on the other stage. But before we noticed that, we were sitting having lunch and overhearing the other stage, and we've had a flasher at the top. But anyway, and like I say, even if this doesn't get people watching Raw live, hopefully after the fact, and I'd like to hear from you on this, and hopefully we find some common ground in these feelings. And this still needs to be heated up more. But anywho, basically, I guess they were a comedian, which I thought was kind of interesting that they had that as a feature, because the few times that I've been to such events, especially kind of over the weekend, not the stuff, not the different events throughout the week for, people who are in the community or their friends, if they want to do it, nobody else should have any problem with that. You do your thing, they do their thing. But you know what? Again, remembering kindness, respect, and um, doing things out of those two things, and not for the wrong reasons. But anyway, one thing that's always kind of bugged me is when they say gay pride, gay club, gay this. I know back in the day, especially my high school days, phrase "that's so gay" used to be used a lot, and there was somebody there for like a minute or two. Um, but that saying that gay is a bad thing, and it's usually said about something that they dislike, right? But this was somebody that was in. People do it in the community too. Apparently, there's sometimes kind of acceptance within the community too. But I do think and hope that that's changing. But she said, "Hey, gay people," and then she said a little bit more, and then for whatever reason, she said it again. And I'm thinking, you know, I understand that, and there wasn't a lot of people around at that particular time, so there wasn't a whole lot of reaction. But I can't have been the only one that thought that's not speaking to everybody here. That's not speaking to other people in the community. I mean, regardless of your gender identity, which is different than orientation, um, you know, I mean, I thought, if anyone was to ever ask me, "Are you gay?" I would say not quite, and they would say, "Why don't you just be honest, or why don't you come out of the closet or something like that?" Well, first of all, I am being honest. Second of all, my choice if I want to, come out of the closet. But it's also just that I'm saying this on behalf of the community. You know, people do. They feel unseen, unheard, unrepresented when the right language is not necessarily used. And it's really kind of annoying when it's happening within the community. But that was that particular person. I mean, she also was saying, or whatever they identify, was also saying some things like whether it's the internet or whether it's out and about in general, we can't censor our kids because other people may not operate that way too. And, they have to learn eventually about the world. Um, but, and there was some kids there, some families, I mean, which shouldn't be a surprise, really. And, me and the person that I was with kind of felt like, maybe they should, not talk about certain things that are a bit more. But then again, people say the same thing about how some people kind of flaunt it. I figure if you got it and you want to flaunt it, okay. If you're confident and it makes you feel good, okay. And I added a thought to that before I did this podcast that kind of came to mind. If they're not doing anything, people are people, people are human, they have impulses, they have desires or whatever. But if they're not doing anything, like especially like, towards kids, other than being free within themselves, how they're showing themselves, if they're not doing anything that some people might call creepy, then they're not, so there should be no problem, right? Um, but yeah, the one on the stage said, like I say, twice with like a 4 or 5 minute gap in between each time where they were saying other stuff. "Hello, gay people," and both times I thought that's. But then she did say the acronym, and she did say "and supporters" or something like that. But it's kind of like, why wasn't that the first way that it was said? Don't we know how important it is about inclusion and how people are very literal and sometimes sensitive? If we want to use that word, don't we know, I do think that some people do it and they really are not intentionally trying to do anything negative. Um, but they should have a bit more awareness and realize that they might be, you know, um, because everybody is important. and everybody should respect and love everybody as they want to be, as long as they aren't causing any harm to others or themselves for that matter. So I don't know why this suddenly feels like, but so that's kind of my thoughts. Like I said, there's been somebody kind of, I don't know if it's been the same person or not, but kind of flashing along the top there. But and the dog is not being distracting. But I have, and the AC is actually, I barely feel it, but I feel it not too strongly, but kind of, so it's good. But I do want to heat up that more. I do want to do some stuff upstairs, and I'm kind of hungry, to be honest. Because I really, even though we kind of went up to the food trucks, I'm not sure if we're going to get the or not. Um, we got these little miniature tacos, 3 for $20, which was a pretty good deal. But like they were messy, and at least he was willing to kind of sit in different spots until we found a comfortable spot. I don't really like corn tortillas. I don't think they're kind of dry. There was no sauce or dip. I mean, the one who was operating it was very nice. You know, they added something on, even though they did charge $4. But actually, um, that would have meant that I would have only paid $1 in tax, which I don't think was accurate. But they just, well, actually, I don't know. I don't know because, like I say, I was away when it arrived at the table, and he's still waiting for me. It is entirely possible that they said, by the way, you owed a bit more in the tax. With you owed a bit more, including taxes. I don't know. If they didn't, then they kind of chose not to. But yeah, but it was a lovely day, and I hope everybody else that is taking part in celebrating yourself and your loved ones and the lovely, although potentially, depending where you're at, hot weather. And actually, yeah, heat and cat we're doing the trend mark. But then said, well, tomorrow's right. Well, this is part of it, you know, and the other days leading up to it. Uh, and you know, that's the other thing, I suppose. Like, it's okay for people to kind of find their groups and their cliques or whatever. Um, but segregation, whether it's race, orientation, or whatever else, again, some of us would probably say, well, it's good in religion because, you know, but it depends on the person. But, you know, like that they had to have transports. I'm not saying that it wasn't important, but I do feel like why not just have that on the same day as the other one? And yes, I know I support the community. I don't drive. I remember one year we were trying to get to a show um, that just happened. It had nothing to do with the festival, but it happened to be on the same weekend, and we were stuck in traffic. And I think her AC was working, but and she was actually very patient and calm, even though she doesn't usually get that vibe. But that was an annoyance, you know. But it's the same thing with, like we said, when biking, you know. Sometimes it's handy for transportation reasons or quicker or whatever. But if there was more bikes and less cars on the road, uh, things would be better in some ways. You'd have to have a lot more bike racks, so because not everything's like a festival. Glad I found the Culligan thing, but I don't think they have a bike thing. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, but yeah, with something like this, I think that it maybe should have all just been on, and it will be. It will somewhat be. But is there anything else I feel like really is important to say? I think I really said it. I'd probably just be repeating myself. Not that that's a bad thing. Maybe certain things need to be repeated. It's 2025. You would hope not, but for whatever reason, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I've come to YouTube and I've said this on my channel, and because I wanted other people within the community to feel heard, noticed, and acknowledged. The people that are, whether they have some sort of problem with it or they don't, but they're just not thinking and getting up on stage, not thinking, um, for them to maybe be a bit more aware. You know, there are a lot of people that won't say anything, whether they're not comfortable. They don't want confrontation, whatever it is. But again, I know that I couldn't have been the only one that was a little bit, happy to hear that the third time around, whether I wasn't close enough to say, to hear somebody said, "Can you like say the whole acronym and acknowledge the supporters too, just to cover everybody?" I don't know if somebody said that or if it just dawned on the individual that was talking. Uh, sometimes one thing that we sometimes do though is we speak out of our own experience first, whether that's the person that was saying it very strongly feels that they're only gay. Spectrum is a real thing, but if they very strongly feel that they're only gay, or that they mostly know only gays, then that's going to be kind of the lens of which they're talking, or the scope. Um, it's the same with sometimes if somebody's saying something about like a pet or an animal that they're not very familiar with. We saw two corgis, and well, if we can, and and they say, "Is he?" It's like, why are we assuming gender? I mean, I'm not saying, that, oh, maybe the pet's non-binary or anything like that. But honestly, I don't think gender is really important to them in their owners and in themselves, maybe that much. But they are one gender or the other. Just like, yeah. So, I mean, but if it was like a male saying he about a pet they weren't very familiar with, maybe they're saying it because their mind thinks he first because they are such. I don't know. I've thought about that from time to time. Anywho, language is one of those things, but it's really important. Uh, some people may say it's being sensitive. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just. Maybe it's for good reason, though. You know. So again, I hope that everybody enjoys. You know, whenever you're having your festival, uh, wherever, whether it's this weekend or not, that if you're involved in it somehow, I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to share your favorite moments, actually, because you know anybody that this is I'm keeping this a safe space, even though it's on the internet. So anybody that you know uh, is negative ways towards anybody's comments, you know, I won't keep your comments posted. There'd be at least that, and I would probably I would probably you know um, disagree and try and address them. Um, so love and kindness. Again, reminder that we are all so alike, but yet also uniquely different. That is okay. That's a topic perhaps I can think about more, to talk about more. How we like to see ourselves in other people. We like to feel similar to other people. You know, um, and some people, whether it's because they don't feel valued or seen or whatever, may either take to bullying, or they might be kind of like, um, I want you to be like me. I mean, I'm not like that. I wouldn't be like that, and you shouldn't be either. Can't we just let people be their authentic selves if they're not, causing any, you know, harm to people, and we be us? You be you, and I'll be me, and enjoy it with each other, you know? Anyway, at least kept this on half an hour practically. Uh, and yeah, I could, but I don't really feel like I need to go on any further. I have a couple other videos that should be noticed by, or should be recognizable by the title, that are kind of on this theme in the past few weeks, for whatever reason. Politics, I think, was one reason that it got brought up. But it's not something I'm going to talk about necessarily often. I'm also seeing a bit of a glare on the screen, but I felt it was important for the reasons said. So, And yeah, just to kind of go back around to the other thing for a moment, you know, in any way, be you. And even if you are doing something because you found it interesting or amusing and wanted to share it, um, yeah, I understand. Like people are gonna see things like I don't know about that. And YouTube may has a way of showing things, too sometimes. But you know, um, I would say just be really mindful of how you do it, even though it's the internet. You know, respecting the content, and if you want to make it unique. Make it about what you want to. Um, it doesn't have to be about somebody else. You know, I just yeah. Somebody may not seem shy, but that doesn't mean that they. Anyway, I don't want to. Yeah. So, because I definitely don't want this to be an hour because, like I say, that then less people might might watch it. Well, less people may watch. You know what I'm trying to say. Anywho, got some things to go do. Again, stay hydrated, stay loving. Love how that kind of sounds. Stay loving. Um, Try and have understanding and empathy for your fellow humans. Um, and yeah, you know, so there's enough hard stuff going on in the world. You know, we don't need we don't need people doing silly things. Okay, put that on the radio when I got on. Couple, 2 or 3 times I thought it right. Um, yeah. Okay. So thanks. Take care.